I think we have created a really strong brand that New Zealanders like that, and that on its own stands pretty strong.
Kia ora and welcome to the Workmates podcast, the podcast by Work Agency, creative marketing agency here on Cuba Street in downtown Wellington, that today bucks the trend, bucks the statistic. 90% of all podcasts don't make it past the second episode, but here we are, number 3, with Nick Lyford from Rembrandt Menswear here in Wellington, with quite a lot to talk about, I'd say. I'm really interested in just talking about your experience in marketing and particularly in men's fashion, as well as some of your other experiences, because I think, there's a lot to chew on there. So thanks for joining us. And what I want to know, Nick, tell me, we all have fashion regrets. We've all done it. You know, back in the past, I was an emo kid. So in the mid 2000s, when I was a teenager, I wore lots of black. I had a black fringe. I had black eyeliner. I had piercings. I had the whole lot. Except for the tattoos, which I certainly don't regret not getting tattoos back then. For you, though, what's your most embarrassing fashion trend, cringeworthy fashion trend that you've tacked onto in the, deep back in your past? And what's that taught you about marketing menswear, such that maybe that you don't fall into those same traps or sort of lead others astray into cringeworthy trends?
I think for me, I immediately go back to a time that it's good to look back on. Am I terribly proud of it? Maybe not. But I was hugely into colour when sort of the end of high school, early university days, and went down the bright chino phase, which was, I'm talking bright blues, bright green turquoise, think really bright orange as well. And you name it, I had one colour in every pair. And it really stood out. Like I wore it and you could tell, and I wouldn't be able to wear that product again or that pair of chinos again for another month or 2 months, because it was a statement piece. And I think how that's changed, maybe 2 things that I picked up just reflecting on that just now. One being that everyone has their style, everyone has their taste, and fashion is so personal, and you might not like it, but it's really much a personal thing. And as a marketer, marketing something in the fashion game, it's not about putting your own personal taste on different things. It's about going, okay, well, how do we market to a wider group of people, and they can take what they want from what we're putting out there and make it theirs, because that's what makes fashion, and that's what people connect with on. It's that, why is that important to me, and how can us as a brand support them on their journey, whether that is having an incredibly versatile brand where everything mixes and matches with each other, or whether it's just about a bunch of statement pieces that puts them on a pedestal. And everyone has their flavour, everyone has their taste.
Yeah, I think versatility is important, being able to sort of, like you said, mix and match different pieces, and not, I guess being able to be, well, I'd say thrifty because I'm a thrifty person, but thrifty in a mindset sense of being able to be smart, like a smaller collection that work well together, that has longevity and isn't going to become sort of irrelevant, obsolete, cringeworthy too quickly.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I think there's nothing better than having a few pieces of clothing that fit you the way you want your clothing to fit. When something fits, you wear it 10 times more than the stuff that doesn't. I've got a few examples where it's been a product that sat in my wardrobe for years. It's not that I didn't like it, it's that it didn't fit. And then as soon as I took it to get altered to me, to fit my body, I wear it 10 times more. And I think those little things, when it's like, make it yours and make it work for you and your body and your wardrobe, you'll want to wear it more and more, which is what we as a brand want to instill in all of our customers. But as a person, as a marketer, that's true to me for sure.
Yeah, you mentioned fit, and it's quite an astute observation, because what I find myself as a consumer and as a person styling themselves daily, I always gravitate back to the things that fit really well, right? Like I have high hopes when I purchase things that are slightly not perfectly fitting, that, there'll be a use for that. But in a daily pragmatic sense, I find myself going back to the trusty jumper that just fits snugly, or the pair of chinos that are just perfect, right? And I might err on the side of wearing the same things over and over again because fit is right. And I know that for Rembrandt, Am I right when I say fit is everything? Is that your tagline?
Pretty much, yes. That's been, I guess you could say, something we've developed over the last 2 to 3 years. Just a bit of context for us as a brand, we've always been making suits. Suits has been part of what we've done, and the big part of what was really unique about us in doing well in the suiting game was that suits have to fit. They don't stretch, they don't move. You have less sort of flexibility for something to fit really well. So, to combat that and put our sort of strong foot forward in the market, we always made many different sizes. So really, really small to really, really large across not just one length of product, but 3 different lengths. So that means that whether you're a short guy, a tall guy, or someone who fits in that sort of medium sized person, you can always find the right fit. And we started saying, well, why does it have to stop at suits? Why can't the rest of your wardrobe have that same philosophy? Whether that's a t-shirt, whether that's a polo, whether that's a nice knitted jumper or something else along that casual side of fitting men really well, and we want to give people the options to be able to choose that fit for them.
That's really cool. So you're not just considering size as in size 8, 10, 12, 14, but you're also going length, height as well. So there's quite a range within your range in terms of fitting every possible, so I suppose, body shape, body size.
Exactly. It's really easy. You and I are pretty sort of sizes that we can walk into any shop really and find the fit that works for us. And we started, which is great. It feels great. We're a privilege, but there's so many people out there that don't have that opportunity. And we want more guys to be able to get that feeling of a really nice fitted piece of clothing. And that just because you're a little shorter, just because you're a little taller, larger, rounder, doesn't mean that you shouldn't have that opportunity. So by expanding our range, having not just one length, having 3 different lengths, we give more men the best chance of being able to feel that. Because when it fits, you feel so much better. You wear it more. It's more sustainable for the world. If you wear more clothes that you love, things go longer. So
amazing. Because I was going to ask, who is the Rembrandt man? But reading between the lines, I'm sensing a little bit of everyone could be the Rembrandt man, because you're not niching down so minutely to sort of ostracize the bulk of men, but you're saying there's a place for all of you here. There's something for all of you here, right? And probably for all occasions, because I know that you're doing everything from super casual wear all the way through to tuxedo, the most formal expressions of menswear fashion or styling. So yeah, tell me more. Who is the Rembrandt the man, and how do you see that translating? If we're thinking about marketing here, how do you speak to everyone? That's also a challenge, right? It's kind of like, okay, everyone's the Rembrandt man, maybe, but you actually still need to tell some compelling stories to make things relevant for those niches at the same time, right? So can you kind of speak to maybe that dichotomy between everyone, but then being specific in how you speak to those particular audience personas or demographics?
I think we've done a lot of work on our sort of brand, our positioning over the last few years, and it's filtering through and starting to, I guess, be put out in the market that's special to us. But who is the Rembrandt man? I think one thing that we have really landed on is it's a man who cares. It's someone who cares about things that fit them well. It's someone who cares about making product out of fabric from some of the best fabric mills in the world, and they understand that value. When you're working with the best fabrics, it feels good, it performs better, and you'll love it more. And it's sort of that group of people that really care. The other side of that is people, we like to think that the Rembrandt man is someone going through transition. It's they're transitioning to a management role, or they're transitioning out of high school into a university degree, and they're looking for that. Either that first job or the school ball, or you're stepping up. And we like to think they're coming to us with that desire to find a bit more confidence, to put that best foot forward, for want of a better pun. And we're there to help them with that. Some of the guys that come to us really know exactly what they're looking for, and they've got a specific fabric need or specific fit. But other guys come to us for help. We're not just selling a product, we're selling that service of being that trusted eye or trusted mind when it comes to what to wear. What does smart casual mean? You know, we hear that on a wedding.
Have you got the answer? Because I still don't know.
A wedding. I mean, that's the point. It's always shifting, and that word smart casual or black tie that comes on in the event, and then you just send a message to the group chat saying, what does that mean? And I think there's always going to be that question. So we want to say, yes, we've got the product, but come to us and we can help you, consult with you, talk you through what you've got, because there's so many guys out there that are asking the same question, and we try to, give our stores the right information, give our store managers the autonomy and the freedom to be able to make decisions on the spot and do it their way. So it's sort of a brand that acts, nationwide in quite a local way, because it does change, region to region.
Interesting. So in a sense, then you're not just providing garments, the product, but you're providing advice. You're consulting on styling, on these life moments where, and what I would probably imagine are people, these important moments in these men's lives, these moments of transition, like you say. So how do you hold in tension the sort of the growth and explosion in e-commerce, direct-to-consumer sales and marketing, where you can do volume and you can sell more online, that's great, but then holding that intention with being able to give that really personalized service that you do in store? Have you been sort of navigating through that? Like, do you see, maybe, I'm just putting things out there, do you see that most people that interact with your online store also interact with your in-person touch points as well? Or do you have to work extra hard to communicate some of these values and support men in these moments if they are just going through an online experience as well?
We've seen a bit in terms of the two worlds. I think this has been a big focus for us as a brand of how do we bring these two worlds even closer together? Because I think a lot of brands struggle with, they do kind of work on their own, either siloed on their own or just, one or the other. And I think for us, we did see a bump in online. We definitely did grow that space. And I would say over the last 6 months or so, it's definitely dropped off. And we really have seen, even talking to our customers, that there's still a real need for that in-person communication, like touch point with someone, with a person, and especially with a product like ours. We are a high ticket item. Fit is really important, and as much as we do everything we can to make that fit experience great online, whether that's just a much easier fit finder, whether that's making sure that we're telling our customers what size the models are wearing, and there's a raft of different sort of ways we do that. But when it comes to that personal connection, like, you can't beat it in store. And we've always tried to go above and beyond when it comes to that community sort of aspect within the shop. Often people will come to the store, hey, is Glenn there, or is Grant around, or is Jeanette in Auckland, in Takapuna store? And if they're not there, sometimes it's, I'll come back when she's back. And that to me is like, sometimes it's, okay, well, how do we grow when these people are only, they're tied to that person? But it's amazing that a brand that makes clothes can have that much sort of influence with just a connection with someone. They want to have a chat. Like they moved on from the world of Zoom and doing things online with work. They want to come in and have a chat during lunch, and buying clothes or getting clothes fitted or altered is sort of a secondary factor, which is, to me, really special. It's something I don't hear much of, but we haven't got it perfect either. We're always trying to improve, but it's something that I've picked up on that I haven't probably experienced much of in other areas of marketing.
Yeah, there was definitely a golden moment and a golden age, a short age, but it was definitely there in that sort of post-COVID world where brands needed to pivot. Pivot was the word of 2020. I think we can use it again, right? It kind of got overused for a while there, but to pivot to go online, direct to consumer, to delivering straight to doorsteps. And that saw a lot of growth for a lot of brands. We run a marketing agency here, and we scaled some brands' web stores to, a significant proportion of their total company revenue, because it was the way of the world, right, in that moment, right? But what we've seen is that it has come back in the sense that retail component, that in person, the conversation, the little extra flourishes of service and of brand experience and of human interaction have become more important again, or at least we're back to the new normal, right? Where these things are now possible again, and people have been craving it, and so it's cool to see and to hear that that's definitely the case in your experience, and the fact that then you can actually live up to that and then meet people where they're at. That experience is sort of a cornerstone moment for them in terms of their sort of fashion or consumer sort of experience. It is great that you've continued to invest in that rather than sort of just throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Do you think that because Rembrandt has a history in tailoring, that's just something it's in the DNA?
Absolutely. Like, I think it's our history. We've been around for 70. This is our 77th year in business, and you could say that we've been multiple different businesses over that 75 years, but tailoring is very much our core. And I think back to your comment on COVID, and something that we tried really hard not to forget was like, who are we? What is our core? And let's not just pivot for the sake of pivoting, because at the end of the day, we are tailoring and formal wear, event wear, black tie, smart casual, is very much true to who we are. Yes, we're growing massively into the casual space as times change, as things pivot. But don't forget that. And we really saw that as we came back out of COVID, that making sure that we kept communicating our core, what we did best, which was that, that tailoring aspect. When people were coming back for black tie events, when people were coming out ready for their weddings that they've delayed 3 times over the course of 18 months, we were there, we were ready for them, and we had the range. We had a really strong blazer, wedding blazer look that people came back in such strong amounts. And that was a good reminder to me that yes, trends are happening, but don't forget who you really are. And because that will sort of be the thing that holds you true, that North Star, or that sort of shining light that keeps you on the straight and narrow. Because had we gone fully down the stretch, the Lululemon-esque, which is not us, and turning things around in the fashion industry is not something you can do quickly, but a lot of brands did. They very much dove straight into that. And I think for us, as we dabbled in it, we went down there, but we didn't lose who we were. And I think that's been really important for us, and has continued to be. It hasn't slowed down. If anything, people want to do more in the event space. They don't have events often, but when they do, I want to make sure I'm looking damn good for it. I want to feel good. I want it to fit good. I want it made out of fabrics that I know where it comes from, and it makes them feel good at the end of the day. So we're seeing a real good moment in that, and I can't see it slowing down. I think it's hopefully it keeps picking up. We'll see.
Yeah, I think in terms of your brand equity, this is obviously this sort of personal, tailored, see the man in front of you, this sort of relational approach. It's pretty core to, what makes you. And I'm just, real inspired by the fact that, you didn't throw away generational, frankly, strategy and just like foundational work for the sake of a short-term tactic in the midst of, a really disorienting time, particularly through those 2 or 3 years. So, good on you for sticking to your guns, and because that's what's carrying you through, and like you say, people are coming back for that experience. And, I think I've seen some examples, not necessarily in fashion, where people, the equilibrium swung too hard, a certain direction in a period of, quite a lot of turbulence, and it's hard to get back the hard-fought wins that you've done, that you've won over time, over a long period of time, when you kind of throw it out the window. So good on you. On that note, so thinking about generational sort of brand growth, this is, it's a family affair for you. So you're the marketing manager, and your dad is the CEO. And your granddad was the CEO.
Correct.
And you're a 76-year-old company, so that's a massive feat. Tell me more about that. Like, tell me more about the family dynamics. How does that work? How does it work sort of technically working for your dad? And how does that work in terms of, I suppose, a family caring for, stewarding this brand over generations?
That's a good question. I've thought a lot about this, and it's, I joined the business nearly 3 years ago. And it was a really tough time I was not sure, in all honesty. Like went through the recruitment process, made through to the final few, and it was really, then I got offered the job, and it was tough. And honestly, like, it wasn't something I took lightly. And I care a lot about what people think, what people are going to think, his son is working for him. Like, is that,
nepotism.
yeah, but reality, like, we're in a world where there's Gucci land of the world where there aren't positive experiences, and I have such a strong, great relationship with my dad, and I didn't want that to be affected. So it was tough, and even the first 12 months in the role, I definitely took me a long time to find my groove, understand the dynamics. I felt the biggest thing was probably the shift of having a manager that I know that I'm working for. And in a sense, my pivot shifted to making sure that the rest of my colleagues and the rest of my team really understood my value and got along with me in the same way. It was different to a normal role, and as naturally it will be. But I think the biggest thing for me was probably just keeping that conversation up. Like, yes, he's your dad, but at work, he's not. In a way, I don't want to be blunt about it, but being very straight. And we had to do a job. We're paid to do a role. Yes, there's a bit of dynamics that we need to work through, but let's put that thing aside, and we're here to, if we need to give harsh feedback both ways, we will. And I think we've done that from day one, and I think that's probably been the reason why we're still like on such good terms, and I'm stoked with the way we've handled it. And I like to think that, I hope the rest of the team think that too. But I believe that they'd be saying the same thing too.
That's really cool. And in terms of, looking out to your dad, then looking, to your grandfather as well, has there been a certain, stability or something that's come with having that sort of family connection through the generations, sort of like, I guess, thinking about that North Star analogy you're talking about, like, has that been a dynamic from your vantage point?
I think it's probably not necessarily dynamic, but both of those two are real. They're such personable people, and Pat, my granddad, is a really empathetic, caring. He loves a chat and a long chat. And that's always been him. Like, he's always been someone who they all both connect really well with people. And so I think that way of, always making sure the customer is happy, going that extra mile, and, making product that is made really well. It stands the test of time, and it's going to make sure that, 10 years down the track in someone's wardrobe, they're still talking about that. And I think that's something that's really true to who they are as people, and subconsciously is very much filtered through to the way we do things. There was a bit of a story, maybe like end of last year. We had this customer come through the support channel and was pretty disgruntled, and it was an overcoat that had, like, big long overcoat that had ripped through the lining, and really frustrated, got really annoyed, and said, "Hey, I expect this to be really solid and not break." And so we're like, "Okay, well, can you send some photos? We'd love to, we'll send the product to us, but send some photos now, and we'd love to, do its duty." Sent the photos, and we did some digging. And this overcoat was made in 1978, and it had just broken 2022, and sent this garment back. We got it all mended up, fixed it up in our alterations workshop in Petone, and then sent it back to her. David gave the customer a call and said, "Hey, it's just on its way. Just want to let you know this was made back in 1978 when we made this overcoat back in Nainai in Wellington. And we're really stoked that you still wear this and want to wear this. And it's a testament to the way we want to do things." And the next week she turned around and sent 6 bottles of wine to the office saying thank you. And just those stories, I think that's one example. Like, there's many examples of things like this, but that to me was a test, just the way both David and the whole business, but David and Pat and other managers, management back in the day, wanted to run the business, and it's definitely filtered through to the way I do it, to the way the rest of the team do things. Standards and quality and making our customers happy is pretty cool. And those sort of stories is what I love hearing them. I love sharing them. And you always get such a good reaction because you don't really hear them from retailers in New Zealand or retailers around the world as much. And it'd be great to be able to share more of these.
Wow, that's a really cool story. Little old New Zealand. I'd like to think that that's what we're made of, the sort of integrity to stand by, our products, by our word, and to put things right, when it counts, to go the extra mile. Do you think, I know that you spent a little bit of time over in Europe. You spent, was it 4 years in Sweden, 3 or 4 years?
About 3 years in Stockholm, yeah.
Yeah. So, going out, spreading your wings, being in Europe, and then looking back to New Zealand, where do you see Rembrandt, and I suppose maybe the New Zealand fashion industry writ large, in relation to the rest of the world, maybe just having recently had a different vantage point? Like, is this a uniquely New Zealand expression of doing business? And how does, there's kind of two questions here. So just feeding back into that last point, that sort of integrity, is that very Kiwi, or did you see that in other expressions elsewhere? And then secondly, how does New Zealand sit in the wider context of fashion in the world? Do we keep up with it? Are we are we the forgotten backwater, or are we the leaders in some spaces? Are we, how do we do things differently as well to Europe and other places around the world? Just any insights there?
I think there's always people in the world, whatever country you're in, that have such an empathetic side to the way we do business. And I think I've been lucky enough to have managers that follow in that footsteps, from my time in Sweden to my time back in Wellington before that, and then working at Rembrandt. There's definitely like a real empathetic side of doing business. Is that uniquely us? I think we have created a really strong brand that New Zealand is like that, and that on its own stands pretty strong. That we do care about people. We ask questions when things are a little off, and that does fall through to the marketing world too. I think the one thing in terms of the fashion side of things is that because we're so far away, we are removed from a lot of what's happening naturally, and things do take time to get here. So
if at all.
and we Rembrandt, we two of our team travel to Europe twice a year, so in February and just got back last week in July. And that is all about looking at trends, finding what's happening out there, what's happening in the retail scene, what's happening in the fabrics and the production side of things. Are we on trend? Are we not on trend? And we always sort of take the element of, okay, it's working over there, but will it actually work for us? And we are a bit slower. We do take time to catch up to things. There's always going to be the fashion people who really are on trend and want to chase that. But that's happening in any industry. And I think for me, the big thing is just because something's happening overseas doesn't mean it is going to happen exactly the way it is in New Zealand. And you've got to, I guess, be that finger on the pulse person. And as a Kiwi or as someone working in New Zealand, how do we adapt this for us? Because doing something that's working in New York or in London isn't necessarily going to work in New Zealand. And as marketers over here, we've got to have that, I guess, understanding of what makes us different and what makes your brand different, because Kiwis are different and trends do come and go, but that's the hard part. That's why we hire people like, smart people like yourself and others that can come with different perspectives and bring that New Zealand side of it into it, because it's definitely not a copy and paste.
Do you have any specific examples off the top of your head where you've had to sort of adapt a global trend, or like a trend from overseas, say in Europe, or a strategy, and then make that work for New Zealand? Like taking the best, I guess, of what resonates or makes sense in this context, but then having to tweak that. Is anything from your time over the last couple of years at Rembrandt that sort of stands out?
I think when we look to the products, like talking product side of things, there's a huge trend happening over in Europe when it comes to really soft, stretch, relaxed tailoring. And I'm talking like super stretch, like really comfortable. I've got a few blazers.
Not spandex.
No, but it's not far from it. And there's a lot of really innovative technology that's happening in the fabric world, and the garment construction and the way things are made, and comfort comes at the core of that. And so that's a massive trend, or not mass, but is a big trend that's happening in some of the big brands over in Europe. And when it comes to New Zealand, someone at their wedding is not exactly going to be wearing super stretchy products in a way that Europe would. And we've got to say, well, what's the big trend here that's happening? And for us, it's comfort. Our people want to wear something that fits, but you only want to wear it if it's going to be comfortable, especially if you're 10 hours for a wedding, right? You don't want to be blue feet by the end of it. You want to be comfortable. So we take that and go, okay, what's that for us? And so we'll run, we've got this new suit, which is following, using a New Zealand wool stretch knitted product and making one product in a black suit. It's a classic wedding or a suit ball or school ball. And that's how we've adapted something that is a big trend over there. But how are we going to dabble in it? Because it's not the core of who we are. Kiwis will take a long time to adapt to it. But if we can tease them and put a bit of a taster out of this is what it could be, and see how the market reacts to it. When we see how the market reacts to it, the next season we'll then bring something else out that follows in similar, or if it flops, then we'll sort of do something different. But not going all in, because Kiwis take a long time to adapt to different things. And we like to think that we'll take inspiration from Europe, we'll find out what works, what doesn't, and then keep trying. And I think that's the way we do things in marketing as well, is we don't go pivot our entire marketing budget from all our social channels all into TikTok overnight. Like, we just wouldn't do that. You do it in phases, right? And the same thing, you start with 10% of your budget or even less to see what's working, what's not. And if it starts showing some good return, then we'll sort of shift them more over. And the same thing when it comes to product development. We'll try, and then if not, we'll bow out. But
so that's really around viability testing. So both with your products and your marketing strategies, you're sort of A/B testing different strategies, different products. Just dabbling, dipping the toes in, and where you see that little uptick, the little people are really into this product, or that strategy, that platform with our marketing is getting a really good return. It's getting the click-through rates, skyrocketing. You'll then double down and reinvest.
Exactly.
But you're sort of baking into your business processes, I suppose, the freedom and flexibility to test viability, and then once you have that solid case, to then push some of the chips in.
Absolutely. And I think one thing we've brought in recently is, in terms of some of the product initiatives, is when we bring out something new, is like, let's make this in a fabric or a color that we know will work. So we're essentially not having two weirds. So we've got a new product. Let's not have a completely new fabric or a new style of finishing or whatever the details are. Let's understand, what do we want to learn from putting this new product out? Is it the color? Is it the style? And if it doesn't work and it's in a fabric that we know really resonates with our customers, we know there's something wrong with it. But if it works and it's really strong, we'll then roll it out with some more interesting, more seasonal product, more seasonal fabrics, more seasonal, I guess, things that work better for New Zealanders. But it's that, I guess, bringing A/B testing into the world of product, because it is really hard to test. You don't have the same, I guess, freedom and flexibility that we have in performance marketing or in the social world, where we can test things, because it could just be the position, the day of the week, the position it's put in the store, the whatever product it's styled with. Like, it's really hard to test whether a product works. So finding ways to improve, to use the data as much as possible has been really has been really strong for us, and I think we'll continue to do that over the next wee while.
And to be able to do that testing, there's quite a significant outlay, like investment there in terms of it's an opportunity cost. Everything's an opportunity cost, right? So to purchase this fabric, to test this particular garment construction, to then release that and put it on shelves and take up X amount of shelf or rack space means that you can't do something else, right? So, but in spite of that, and in spite of the risks or the unknowns, you as a business, fundamental business strategy, you still think it's worth pushing, worth experimenting, worth testing, even if some of that is a sunk cost.
Yeah, like, so I think we try really hard to get those all year round core products just working. We're sort of like the engine of a business, right? You know, whether it's the retainer side of an agency, or whether it's the ice cream flavors that sell really well. You know, the lemon sorbet and the vanilla of some ice cream brand is always going to be the same. And then they have these different flavors, sort of, salted licorice or rum and raisin or something that's a little bit different that sparks interest and gets people thinking in a different way. 90% of the time, there's probably still going to get the lemon sorbet because it's the tried and true and it's really strong. And that's the same attitude for us. So if those seasonal products do really well, or the salted licorice does really well, that will then become part of our core range. And it's that same attitude when we come to the range of, let's try and get a really strong core. It will continue to give us return. It will continue to excite our customers and fulfill their needs. And then when the new development side of things is, we need to keep being innovative. That's our brand. That's going to be the thing that stands out the most. That's going to get people looking at us, people seeing we are a soup brand. And in the soup world is pretty, old school. We've been around for 75 years. It has some connotations to it that perhaps is not all positive, but we really want to make sure that we are being innovative within that space. We are trying the stretch products, or we are putting out a really soft blazer that is incredibly comfortable. It feels like you're not wearing anything, but that's the point. And that makes everything else that we put out there in the core range feel, sound, look even better, because it is. So there's sort of two worlds happening, I guess you could say. But back to your question on the big outlay, it's a huge outlay. We just recently sampled our winter 24 products back in March and April this year, and then they're just being placed. The fabric orders were placed 2 weeks ago for winter next year, which will then start to be delivered in April. So we're talking, 10 months from or 12 months from a sample all the way to getting it into store. And you don't see any return until that period turns up, until that product turns up. And even then, we don't know whether it's going to be successful or not. And that's where we want to give our products the best chance to fly, and that's where marketing comes in. So how can we tell those stories that are going to resonate the best on these products that is half science and half sort of, I guess, not gut, but just trying to read the market the best we can, listen to our customers as much as we can, get into the support channels and see what those questions are coming back with, so that we can put our best foot forward every time.
That's really cool. It's actually set up the next question really well, because firstly, thank you for going with the ice cream analogy, because we have a Duck Island ice cream shop directly opposite our agency front door, and it resonated with me because, there's the tried and trues, you got the fairy breads, the salted caramels, but then they release their seasonal flavor, or their sort of the one they've just come up with that week as a sort of an activation or a special. And, I find myself, I go double scoop. I get the tried and true, and then I get the special and I test it. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to hedge my bets here.
and does that seasonal become your core?
It has. Roast okay. This is case in point. So recently they were doing the coffee crumb one, and that went from being, I'm going to test it out, to being now a staple for me. Same with the peppermint slice. For some reason, I hadn't given the peppermint slice its time in the sun. I'd sort of, peppermint slice. There's certain flavors, or that you just sort of, okay, you hear it. But I was like, I actually tried it one time, and it was incredible. I was going to say that the peppermint slice, Duck Island, it's a winner. But anyway, so You mentioned storytelling, and I think that really leads in nicely to where I want to go next, because we haven't really stated kind of what our relationship is here at all. But just for the viewers, so Work, our creative marketing agency, we've been engaged with Rembrandt on a number of fronts over the last 4 or so years, even before you came back to New Zealand and into this role. So we've sort of supported it with social media and with content. So we do the seasonal campaign photo shoots for Rembrandt. So that's 2 a year, spring, summer, and autumn, winter, and then a few other sort of smaller ones peppered in throughout. But that's a time of the year that I'm always excited about. I know we've got our next one coming up really soon in August, and that's spring, summer 23. And so I'm the creative director here, but I also do a little bit of photography still on the tools. I've only got 2 clients that I still do photography for, and it's Rembrandt and one other. So, it's an absolute pleasure to still be involved directly in helping to create and build the Rembrandt brand through visual storytelling. And so tell me more about storytelling and its role in the Rembrandt sort of brand framework. And then tell me a little bit about this season, spring, summer 23, and kind of what your thoughts and plans have been so far, and obviously working with us to then bring that to life shortly.
We kind of touched on it a little bit before when it comes to Rembrandt does have a wide range of customers. We do have a lot of different customers, from the black tie, the people that are higher. We have a higher offering, so there's the higher stories as well as the custom made to measure. So we do have quite a wide, suite of people that we can talk to. When it comes to storytelling, I think this job's never done. It's a constant grind. It's a constant, battle of understanding, what makes us unique, what makes us different. And we've over the last few years, we've really suits come from quite a proper, structured, formal world anyway, and at times it can be it's like elite side of things, and that product does a lot of that storytelling from the get-go. And we've really, over the last couple of years, tried to make sure that we are a brand that is empathetic. We do care. We are relatable. We understand what you're going through, and we want to make sure that our product, given our sizing structure that we talked about earlier, our knowledge of our store staff, that they are a trusted advisor, that relatability, that relaxed human side is actually coming through in our brand. And it's a tough thing to do. It's not done overnight, but that's been one thing that we've tried really hard. So putting our product in a really relaxed setting in a way that people can, see themselves in it, getting talent and models of different backgrounds, different ages, different sizes, so that we can start telling that story in a way that is not the same as we've always done. So it's a challenge, finding people across many different backgrounds is no easy feat in New Zealand, and it's a constant challenge of mine, but it's something that I think is true to who we are. And just because something's difficult doesn't mean we should give up. But that's been where a lot of our efforts have been, is about toning down what makes us special, and toning down that empathetic side to the brand.
Yeah, there's an interesting balance here where Rembrandt, you are a premium product in the sense that it's like you said earlier, it's a bit of an investment for the man, for his occasion. At the same time, it needs to be relatable and accessible, and part of that sort of visual storytelling is doing that, right? So it's not, in terms of the campaign imagery, it's not high key Vogue imagery that is otherworldly and is inaccessible. It's more relatable situations, it's more contextual, but at the same time, the quality still shines through, right? Because obviously in the garment and in the sort of the styling and, and those sort of things that have that subtext of quality while still being like the viewer can be like, oh yeah, cool. I've got that thing that's coming out. That makes sense for me. That's for that moment. So we're not sort of divorcing it too far away from their world, right? Would you say that that's sort of a delicate dance you're doing there between premium and accessible?
Oh, totally. I think, and accessible means so many things to different people. I think that's something that I've realized or understood a bit more, that for me, accessible could be price, and it could be that I feel like I'm welcome to walk into the shop. Whereas other people, they'll never blink. They'll just be that they don't think like that. So it's making sure that as a marketer, I'm seeing all of those perspectives. How do people, think about a warm, human, empathetic brand, because it won't be the same for everyone. And that's my challenge. That's been a challenge for all of us marketers, right? Of trying to market in a way that includes as many people as possible, or doesn't exclude as many people as possible.
And just before we go any further, sort of talk about the upcoming seasonal campaign, for quite a few businesses, and I am as guilty of this, and we here at this agency are just as guilty of this as anyone else, but I see it in quite a number of businesses, is that sort of that engagement with your community, that feedback loop of getting sort of insights and feedback back into the system to sort of to continue to innovate and to grow, sometimes becomes a little bit of an afterthought. There's 101 other things that are like pressing, right? When you're running a business, you're marketing, you're building a brand. But what I'm hearing from you is that community engagement is central. Would you say that?
Yeah, I think for us, as a marketer, I think definitely this year and the last couple of years, the word community has been it's been that buzzword that's not buzzword, but it's been a word that's been thrown around a lot when it comes to marketing trends, to top 10 trends to keep an eye on in 2023. And that's true. I think that is definitely been there. But the fact is, what does that actually mean? And for me, I probably gave myself a bit of a hard time. We don't have an enormous social following like some of the big brands out there. And to me, I initially really draw community and social, that sort of volume on social to be really tied together. And then I started to zoom out and say, well, what does community mean for our customers? What really resonates with them, and how are we going to, I guess, not jump on that, but zoom in on what we do well when it comes to our community. And for us, we have these store footprints, and they all have really strong relationship with their customers. And for us, it was making sure giving our stores the best opportunity, most autonomy, and the opportunity for them to go and form those relationships. So they're really forming a community within their store. Because without that, we really do lose a lot. They've got the face-to-face, they're selling, they're coming back to them, they're friends with them, and that is us. And we're not as big on social, and that's fine. The other thing is, we do a bit of this, and there's always room to improve. But for your brand or another brand, having really slick post-purchase customer support might be the way you formulate your community. We're going to really zoom in on making sure that our customers, when they engage with us after purchasing, we're going to have the slickest, most thought out, very personable post-purchase. And that's how we're going to build our community, because we want brands to really, or people to talk, to share those words of mouth that, okay, they're not the biggest brand on social, but have you experienced their post-purchase? They are so fast, they're so onto it, and they care. And I think, as a marketing, head of marketing manager type role, it's our job to really trying to break down what is that for us. And it's not just about copying everyone that's out there. It's about understanding what's core to who you are, and putting that community layer on top of it.
Yeah, you raise a really good point. It's really interesting and important, vital even, to determine for your own brand, what does success actually look like? Because it's so easy to get trapped into the sort of the vanity metrics, we don't have quite a larger following on social as this company or that competitor or whoever. We're not jumping on this trend or that trend this week. We haven't started a Threads account, there's so many opportunities that go begging, right? But you can feel like that's failure if you don't have, again, your North Star of what does success actually look like? And that success looks different for different brands based on the shape of their business, their customer base, the different interactions customers have with them. For us, we're a creative marketing agency and we don't have a very large social following. Now, again, there's still a lot to work on there. We've got a content plan, and we're going to roll it out. And, we're creating podcast, episode 3. Look at us go. But for us, success has always been about the client experience. If we're so busy creating social content that we can't even look after our existing customers really well and ensure that they're being serviced to the highest standard, something's really wrong. We gauge ourselves, we pride ourselves on success being the success of our clients. We peg our success to their success. And what does that look like? For different clients, it looks like different things. Their own strategic goals will look different based on their business and the quarter and the year ahead. But we tether ourselves to their success. It may be growing your online store to be a certain percentage of your company revenue with a certain revenue target in the next year. For others, it won't be about that. It'll be about sort of brand positioning or market share. Or for another brand, it might be just simply to have the best in-store experience possible. And so for us, success is different to what other agencies might consider success. And that's what, for us, we've kind of kept our head down and just done right by the client where possible. I think you make a really good point that you have to figure it out for yourself, because it's, when you don't have that North Star, you can get, blown by the wind and just be chasing trends and not really know why you're doing it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, couldn't have said it better myself.
Cool. So what I want to know, which I actually already know a little bit about this because I'm involved in the planning process, but what does, looking forward, does the next season look like for Rembrandt? So spring, summer 23, we're planning the creative campaign for that, and then obviously the drop of all the products. So just give us a little bit of a teaser. Where are we going with fashion in spring, summer 23?
Yeah, so next month we head out on set. As for the products, I think the big one that we're seeing is back to that comfort, that relaxed fabrics and fibers that work with the season. We're talking textured wools, linens, blends of wool and linen. They're really summer focused fabrics, and they are super breathable, super lightweight, really enjoyable to wear. Sometimes feels like you're not wearing much, but that's the point. And we're just leaning heavily into that. It's a big trend happening in Europe already, and it's sort of continuing to come here. Think linen shirts, linen shorts, and just a softer approach to tailoring into casual wear. And then it kind of rolls back to what I was saying before about a versatile wardrobe. My personal wardrobe being very versatile, bang for your buck. This suit works with that blazer and vice versa. The same thing's happening in this range, and it's very much about colours, tonal fabrics, tonal colours, tonal textures that work with each other, and can be styled together so that you go in and get an outfit that can then still go with other core pieces of the range in just as easy fashion. So that's sort of where we're going. We're seeing a lot more of the double-breasted sides, the 6-button double-breasted style jackets coming back, which were a big hit back in the day, and now we're seeing them coming back in. So we've got 2 really strong double-breasted blazers coming in, which I'm pretty excited to see how they move. We haven't made one of them for a number of years now, and I'm excited to see some of these old styles come back.
Awesome. Sounds great. Well, yeah, I'm really excited about seeing these garments on the models when I photograph them. It's honestly always, like I said before, a highlight of my year to roll around to the next campaign shoot. And there's such an amazing team that you've sort of built in Rembrandt from the product stylists through to the models and all the support people that are on set and on shoot for the days. It's no Yeah, it's no easy feat to pull off 2 days of campaign shooting, and just want to thank you for all the time that you've put into sort of streamlining that process. Because as the photographer, the creative coming in to have a really comprehensive brief for the season ahead certainly makes the job easier, and it means we've got all the right people and elements to just get the best results. So I'm looking forward to the shoot in a couple of weeks, and continuing this relationship with Rembrandt in the years to come. Thank you so much for your time today. There's been so many sort of nuggets in there, little pieces of gold that I think, though some of it's relevant to, the fashion industry, a lot of it is relevant to marketing and business, regardless of industry. So thanks for your generosity of, just being, forthright and, bringing some interesting thoughts to the table.
Oh, thank you. It's been it's good fun. I'm always open for a chat, and hopefully it's of interest to some people. But, no, thank you again. It's been really good. Awesome.
Well, this was the Workmates podcast. My name is Benjamin Johnson. I'm the creative director here at Work Agency on Cuba Street in inner city Wellington, Aotearoa, New Zealand. Thanks for tuning in to all of you who have tuned in, and if you made it this far, we really, really appreciate it. Hang tight for the next episode, and see you there.